What if I told you that people pleasing isn't just bad for your mental health, it actually makes you a terrible leader? I know, because I was that manager, the one who said yes to everything, never set boundaries. I ended up overwhelmed, overcommitted, and completely drained. I thought that being a good manager meant always being available, always helping out, always smoothing things over. But the result was I had no time for the bigger picture work. I was just constantly putting out fires, and I became a sponge for the office drama and gossip because people knew I would take it on. And the worst part of all of it is my team didn't actually respect me for it at all. Neither did I respect myself. And then one day I just said, enough is enough. I got ruthless with my boundaries. And today I'm going to give you my exact list of boundaries that you can start using this week. You've probably heard the phrase, you need boundaries or you need better boundaries 1,000 times. But where's the practical list? No one tells you how to do it. The real life guide that tells you when to say no and how to actually do it at work. And that is what I'm giving you today. If you're serious about it, I've actually got a full tracker for you. So I've built out a spreadsheet so you can keep yourself accountable to setting these boundaries every day for the next 30 days. Just go and download it below. We are breaking these boundaries into 4 boundary types that every single manager needs, and you won't have heard a lot of these before. First is time boundaries. Now, your time is your most valuable asset. It is the only finite asset that we technically have, and if you don't protect it, no one else will. So here's the things that actually changed the game for me when it came to time. Never, and I mean never, responding to people outside of your work hours. You think that when you send that email at 9 p.m, it makes you look as though you're on it and you're committed, but it doesn't. It shows that you have no value over your own time, and just that you can't actually manage your time within your working hours. Your availability and constantly being there and on does not make people respect you more. It does the complete opposite. Next one that follows on from this is just no work on holidays and lunch breaks. You wouldn't expect your team to do it, so hold yourself accountable to the same standard. When we send that message while we are on holiday, if ever you've done that, what kind of message do you think that sends to the team? And then with time as well, we have to question every single meeting invite. So before clicking accept on any meeting, we have to ask ourselves some really rigid questions. Is this actually necessary? Can the time be reduced? Do we even need a meeting at all? Can someone else in my team who's already there, or use AI to get you the notes? Meetings, if you're not careful, will be the biggest stealer of your time. You have to get protective and start saying no. And finally, with time, is you also need to never send a meeting invite without a clear agenda. If you don't know exactly what needs to be covered, the meeting shouldn't happen. Or could you get a 1-hour meeting down to 20 minutes? Could you get a half-an-hour meeting down to 10 minutes? Don't be reactive when it comes to meetings, and never take on projects that you and your team can't finish, because overcommitting to things like this just helps no one. Sheryl Sandberg, the former COO of Meta, was famous for leaving work at 5:30 every single day. If a leader at a $1 trillion company can set time boundaries, I promise you can too. And whatever excuse you are thinking in your head right now, I've got clients in different countries, I get sent meeting invites late into the day, I just don't have time to finish everything. I need you to start asking yourself, this is not a case of if, it's a case of how. How can you make this work for you? Because I guarantee if you continue on this path for much longer, you are going to be no use to anyone because your mental health is going to take a serious downturn. Number 2 is friendship boundaries. So this is a really sticky subject because a lot of us maybe were peers before we got promoted and we're friendly with our team, etc. And I'm here to tell you that you can actually be friends with your team, but we need a line. We need somewhere where we don't take it too far. When that line starts to blur, that's when your leadership decisions start to suffer. Here's some really practical places in which I draw the boundary, because I am friendly with my team, but there are some serious hard lines that I will never cross. So firstly, never share sensitive information, even if you trust them. It damages your credibility. When you have sensitive information, whether it's difficult conversations you have with other employees, whether it's financial information, never ever share that under any circumstances. Even if that person is your friend, they actually will respect you less for giving them that information in the long run. They will see you as someone who isn't trustworthy. And that leads me nicely on to the next one, which is absolutely no gossiping with your team. Even passively listening encourages it. Do not get involved in the workplace gossip, and absolutely do not be the one that starts it. There has to be a hard line when it comes to gossiping at work, and managers should never ever cross it. And the last thing here is just educate yourselves on bias. So when we have friendships with people, we are biased to maybe give them more opportunities, let them speak more in certain situations. We're more likely to trust and go with their opinion. So if we're going to be friends with our team, we have to educate ourselves on those biases to make sure that those friendships are not going to influence your decisions. So Reed Hastings was a co-founder of Netflix and built a culture of what he called radical transparency. But even in an open environment, he maintained strict leadership boundaries because trust is built through fairness and not favoritism. The third set of boundaries I need you to have, and this is the ones that people don't speak about too much, is energy boundaries. Your energy is just as important as your time. It is also finite. Have you ever got to the end of a working day, you get home to maybe your partner, family or friends, and you're like, just have no energy left? Because things in your day are taking your energy away from you, and you have to do your best to manage that energy as best possible. So there's a few things that I do to not let some of the pressures of the modern workplace really drain my energy too much throughout the day. Firstly is when I get complaints or my team come to me venting, annoyed, anything like that, that it brings with it negative energy, and it doesn't mean it's a bad thing, but we have to deal with it very factually and try not to let our emotions get too involved. So guide them towards solutions instead of getting involved in any sort of drama. I promise if you start getting involved in that drama and in those situations, your energy is just going to be sapped. Next, don't take on tasks that don't play to your team's strengths. Not every single request deserves a yes. Serena Williams is an amazing example with this. She follows a strict mental energy management routine, so she limits distractions before matches, avoids any unnecessary conversations, and even gets rid of media exposure on game days because she knows that protecting her mental energy will help her perform at the highest level she possibly can. And as a manager, your focus is your performance. Treat it like an athlete. And finally, a huge one is pace boundaries. Now, not everything deserves your immediate attention, and it's really difficult to manage this nowadays because we've got like notifications from WhatsApp, Slack, emails, all the rest of them popping up, and we think that when we see that big flashing thing on our screen saying notification, that means we have to jump in and answer it straight away. But it's simply not true. Turn off notifications. Those constant interruptions don't just disrupt your day, they actually make you a bottleneck for your team's growth, because if they're constantly coming to you, asking questions, and they won't move forward unless you approve it for them, you are now a bottleneck. Close your email tab. Block out an hour a day for emails, then ignore it. Stop using your inbox as a to-do list. Someone once said your inbox is a list of other people's urgencies. It keeps you in reactive mode instead of actually focusing on your real priorities. So Oprah Winfrey does this well. She schedules out thinking time every day, completely uninterrupted, blocks out space where no one can reach her, no emails, no distractions, just time for deep work and creative thinking. Because she says that if everything is urgent, nothing is. If Oprah, with an empire to run, can set boundaries on her availability, so can you. So if you're ready to actually put this all into practice, go grab that 30-day boundary tracker that I've made for you. Just make a copy of the spreadsheet and start tracking. Drop a comment below. What is the hardest boundary for you to set? Which one of these do you still struggle with? And I do one of these videos every single week on practical and refreshing leadership principles, so make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss them.